Hey, what's up guys, OSG back with another Amiga video. I was asked in the comments on the video if there were any good Amiga fighting games, so this is a response to that question. I planned to do a list of 20 as normal, but to be honest after 10 I was scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as gameplay goes, and was going to have to include games like Capital Punishment, which let's face it looks great but plays like an absolute dog. Anyway, with the title of the video in mind, which is the best fighting games, I have decided to cut the list to 10, and I'm happy to say that all of these 10 games show that yes, the Amiga could do a good fighting game, and the top 5 are extra good. So without more delay, let's take a look at the 10 best Commodore Amiga fighting games ever made. Kicking us off in 10th place we have Body Blows Galactic. This is a follow up to Body Blows, and if this list was 20 we would have seen that game too. The game was made by Team 17, so as expected it's beautiful looking and has a real thumping soundtrack. The gameplay is okay, but for me it lacks the wow factor that one button fighting games had to have in abundance to compete with the SNES and the Mega Drive games. Still though, I was happy to play this when I was younger, and still today from time to time gets fired up for the looks and music if nothing else. Ninth place is taken by Super Street Fighter 2, The New Challengers. Now there were a few Street Fighter 2 games on the Amiga and they all were great looking, but then were total letdown in the gameplay with slow choppy movement and ultimately were no fun to play. This one however is the opposite. The looks are grainy and really not what you would expect from the Amiga, but then you start the game and all is forgiven with some awesome one button controls that really work. On top of that it's fast, and for me this is by far the best Street Fighter game on the system. Barbarian the Ultimate Warrior is in 8th position. I'm sure that most people know this game as it was an absolute classic and one of the goriest games about, with the fighter decapitation, but I would guess that most people remember it from the box art, which had Wolf from Gladiators on, and more importantly the lovely Maria Whittaker. It's everything I love from the C64 version I originally played it on, with better sound and slightly better looking, and I mean slightly. They have recently done an enhanced version of this game called Barbarian Plus, which does look much better, but really that's all it adds to it, so if you like this game, go and check that one out. In 7th place we have 4D Sports Boxing. Now this is a game that I had never played until recently, and I have to say that when I was younger I would never have bought this game from the screenshots as it doesn't really look that good. But if that was the case I would have missed out on the best boxing game on the system. Yeah, it looks a bit naff, but the gameplay is brilliant. The combos you can do with a one button control system is off the map. If you like boxing games like the Fight Night games on the newer systems, then check this one out. Look past the graphics and you will see that this is one great boxing game.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Sixth place is taken by Mortal Kombat. By the time Mortal Kombat came out I had a Mega Drive, so I never really bothered with it on the Amiga because in my mind it could never have worked with a one button joystick. Years later, in fact this year when I did the Mortal Kombat comparison video, I fired it up and I was astounded that not only was it great looking, but they had also managed to map all the moves to the joystick directions and button presses. If you like me thought that this would never work, grab the game, read the manual and then go and play it. It all hangs together surprisingly well.
Excellent. Liu Kang wins. Fatality.
Panza Kickboxing is in 5th position. I first saw this game on Games Master and afterwards I just had to have it. I was myself into kickboxing at the time and loved playing this with my mates. There are a wide variety of super realistic fighting moves in this one, and it's one that me and my son play all the time still. They brought a follow-up out years later called Best of the Best, but sadly didn't improve on this game, although it added some stuff. For me though, this was one of the first games that you could customise your player with moves, and the rotoscoping that we all knew from Prince of Persia gave the fighters a real life feel.
Up, hey, hey.
In 4th place we have Mortal Kombat 2. This game was actually in my recent video on best Amiga arcade ports, and they took everything that they got so right from the first game and took it to the next level. This is a real quality arcade port, and in fact you quickly forget that you didn't have the 5 buttons from the arcade, as you are able to pull off all the moves with some ease, even the fatalities. For me this is probably the most mind-boggling game on the list, as they ported it as perfectly as possible for the control restrictions, when really it shouldn't have worked. Third place is taken by Shadow Fighter, an Amiga exclusive here, and one that just oozes class. Gremlin, who were renowned for giving us some of the greatest games on Amiga ever, turned their hand to the fighting genre, and they gave it their all, which resulted in a super smooth, fast, gorgeous looking game. This game was voted 20th best game ever made for the Amiga by Amiga Power, and after spending some time on it, I have to agree that it probably does belong on that list. The range of fighters and moves are great, and it holds up against any other arcade fighting game I've played. Fighting Spirit is in 2nd place. Okay, so as I've mentioned earlier, we on the Amiga were subjected to a lot of bad Street Fighter games, so we were very disappointed. But then, Fighting Spirit came along and we quickly forgot about the Street Fighter travesties. This is as good as an arcade fighter could get on the system for me. It's a pure homage to the likes of Fatal Fury, etc. The gameplay on a limited control system is brilliant, and it has to be classed as the best arcade fighting game on the Amiga. The only reason it's not top is that System 3 made a perfect combat game. And now, in 1st place we have IK Plus, or International Karate Plus if you want to use the full name. This game was good on all systems, old and new, but the Amiga version will always be the best of them. We have played and loved International Karate and Way of the Exploding Fist, but this was the first time we had ever been treated to 3 fighters on the screen, and boy did it make a difference. This for me is and will always be the definitive hand-to-hand combat game of all time. Yeah, maybe it doesn't have the glossy looks of Street Fighter, Tekken etc, but the gameplay on this game is second to none. Okay, that's it for this video. I was a bit skeptical when I started this list, as I only really knew of a handful of good fighters, but I think it's turned out great. And if nothing else has proved that the Amiga was not only capable of knocking out a great fighting game, but doing it as good as any of the other consoles at the time. Let me know in the comments below what your favourite Amiga fighting games were, and if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more great content. Also, if you are able, follow me on the usual social media, the links are in the description below. And if you're feeling really generous like these gems going up the screen, support me on Patreon. Till next time, Mrs. OSG, signing out.